With first episode out of the way, why not follow up with the second? So I'm back with another 10 obscure DOS games, and hopefully you've not played a single one of them. Project Paradise is a top-down action-adventure game similar to Take No Prisoners that we've spoke about in one of the recent 10 years of early Windows gaming videos, with a difference that you're not only in control of a single protagonist, but a trio of them, and you have to utilize all of their skills to complete the omnipresent puzzles and finish the game. Story-wise, in the distant dark future, the world is controlled by a single entity. The governments are irrelevant or non-existent, and everything is ruled by the powerful syndicate. One that uses both technology and dark magic for its nefarious purposes, effectively tumbling the humanity in fear and chaos. Worst of all, a super secret project of theirs codenamed Paradise is to have the power to destroy the entire planet and wipe all living creatures. Naturally, whenever there's something that's beyond the capabilities of the army or special forces units, a crack commando unit that was previously sent to prison by a military court for a crime they didn't commit is required. These men promptly escaped from a maximum security stockade to the Los Angeles underground. Today, still wanted by the syndicate, they survive as soldiers of fortune. If you have a problem, if no one else can help, and if you can find them, maybe you can hire the A-team. Oh shit, wrong script, sorry. I obviously meant that you're the one we sent out for when things go astray. And this time, you lead a three-man team to stop Project Paradise. Unlike the aforementioned Take No Prisoners, this game places as much emphasis on the puzzling as it does on the shooting. So while there's still a lot of action and plenty of weapons to pew 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 away through hordes of enemies, you'll have to use your noggin in it too. Presentation-wise, Project Paradise looks pretty good, the graphics are detailed and smoothly animated, and the rotation effect, while a bit sickness-inducing, is rather impressive. If cyberpunk and fantasy mixture in a shooter/adventure setting is something you'd like to try, there is no better start than here. Project Neptune has one of the most stupid and cliché stories you've heard. Well, I may be exaggerating, but it's definitely one of the most terrible you'll hear all day today. An evil organization, because each Bond-esque story has to have one, called Yellow Shadow and led by one and only, also very Bond-like named villain Ming, is secretly mining uranium in numerous hidden underwater bases. Their plan is as nefarious as their name isn't. They aimed to build an army of killer robots and take over the world. Now, as ambitious as it is, Ming's not going to succeed because you're here, and you're gonna stop him. Playing as Rip Steele, a bump like no other, and a proud owner of a coconut-sized cojones, which in itself poses serious of issues when clothes shopping or whenever you get in a pool, as these two huge bad boys work like buoys of some sort. Still, you're you, and you're gonna deal with it. So, you jump in a single-person mini-sub that's armed to the teeth and head off to destroy the underwater bases. You do so by either starving them of energy, blowing links between them, or by bombing them plenty enough times to cause significant damage. Each base is connected to at least one other, and that's how you go about locating them, going at them one by one like in a series of links in the chain. You're naturally not just destroying the bases willy-nilly, as they are all protected by the Ming's evil henchmen that all have to be disposed of or distracted. The oxygen and energy in your sub runs out quite often, or well, is on the verge of running out quite often to be precise, so you'll have to make frequent trips to one of your allied bases to refill them. While graphically for an EGA title, Project Neptune does not look bad, mixing first-person submarine action with third-person diving sections, the gameplay is not very captivating, and after a while a feeling of repetition-induced boredom may settle in. If it looks or sounds interesting to you, check it out, but if it does not, it's definitely a game you won't lose anything skipping. Prophecy the Viking Child was originally designed as a two-parter, with second one planned for a release a year or so after the first. Well, what you plan for and what happens are not necessarily the same things, and the sequel never saw the light of day. Hard to tell why today, was it sales numbers not reaching profitable margin, parent company's bankruptcy or something else, but it stayed a singular game. So, effectively a half of the story. For the most part, Viking Child plays very similarly to Wonder Boy in Monsterland, so it's a mixture of platforming and role-playing in a fantasy setting. You play as a titular Norse kid, a prophesized hero who will save the world. You're born to do great things and become the medieval Neo, a hero to save everyone and defeat the Matrix. Well, one of these is not right and not true. Anyway, Evil got lucky, knowing very well of the foretold prophecy, kidnaps your friends and family to fuel the prophecy and cause chaos and destruction throughout the lands. Before you get to Loki and save your kin, you'll need to defeat his 8 apprentices of darkness. The game is composed out of 16 levels, taking places in various different beautiful but also dangerous locations, you know, villages, mountains and castles, all full of Loki's goons. Dotted around the game world are the shops, which will allow you to purchase weapons and other helpful items, like bombs and potions for instance. The VGA presentation is rather nice, but for whatever the reason falls short when compared to Amiga's outing. It's very brownish all throughout. Which is odd, as technically speaking VGA was much more capable card than early Amiga OCS and ECS chipsets were, but whatever, it is what it is. Gameplay, while not groundbreaking, is pretty fun too, and definitely a treat to all fans of action platformers, especially if they like a touch of RPG rolled into their games. Prophecy of the Shadow is SSI's post-AD&D role-playing and a very unusual game for them. While it gained rather favorable reviews in the max of the time, it never sold as well as their Gold Box series titles and eventually became a largely forgotten game. Prophecy of the Shadow looks and feels as if it was designed to be a genre-bait kind of a game. An easy entry into the world of role-playing for those who haven't played this and wanted to try something easier and friendlier first before attempting any of the cornerstones of the genre. So, a lot is simplified in Prophecy of the Shadow, not to overwhelm the player. The character creation and stats are very basic, in fact there's only strength, magic and agility, and there are what you think that they're responsible for. The graphics however are on the forefront of everything and polished to the levels SSI wasn't known for yet. Heck, there are even cinematic cutscenes accompanying the story. And the whole interface and combat is mouse-driven and made as easily digestible to the RPG newies as possible. Evil Shadow Lords are on the verge of entering our world and their arrival will come with death, chaos and destruction. If that wasn't enough, the magic is dying, and even if it wasn't, its use is prohibited and practitioners are haunted by the very efficient Cindercraft mage hunters. And worst of all, the protagonist you play as is blamed for death of his master, who's been stabbed with a poisoned dagger. In Prophecy of the Shadow, you're not leading a group of adventurers anymore, but a singular hero who alone has to defeat the evil and save the land. To do so, you can naturally resort to combat, which takes place on the same plane exploration does, and features no separate screens. It's not turn-based as most of SSI's games were either, but plays out entirely in real time. Use of magic requires you to learn spells from tomes found in the game and equipping of appropriate catalysts. While Prophecy of the Shadow may have not been the first, it was definitely one of the first games to use digitized from real-life characters, superimposed on pre-drawn backgrounds. At the time, it must have looked groundbreaking, but hardly any game ever is saved by the graphics if something else is wrong with it. And in case of Prophecy, while the attempt was noteworthy, very linear story and simplistic gameplay alienated versed fans of the genre and Prophecy failed to gain any real traction. Protostar War on the Frontier is a space trading and exploration game that supposedly was meant to be Starflight free, but due to some legal/copyright reasons wasn't possible and it ended up being Protostar. Not a cool name, I'm afraid. And as we know, games live or die by their names. So, as per usual in spacefaring games, evil alien race of Skeech is threatening the humanity and the peace in the galaxy overall. To respond to this newfound danger, a Protostar initiative is launched and aims to convince 4 other neighboring alien species to join humans in preparation for the upcoming attack. And the best agent the Earth had at its disposal is chosen. Yes, it's you again. I know that you may be tired by now, always being sent to put out fires everywhere, but think for a second about it. If not you, then who? I mean, Batman disappeared on me on Christmas, Master Chief is busy recording his new TV show, we don't have anyone else. At least not on the same or even comparable skill level. So, you will have to travel to the ends of the universe, trade to earn money, land on planets to gather precious minerals and alien creatures, upgrade your ship and hire crew members. All in anticipation of the worst that's definitely coming. Each of the crew members can be assigned to a particular station, so navigation, tactical, biotech, science and contact, and each of them requires a salary. And all that while fending off Skeech raiders, fighting off pirates, well, space pirates, and taking part in various events. It is, after all, a space-based semi-role-playing adventure game in some parts too. Protostar's presentation is rather nice, sporting beautiful 256-color graphics and a decent soundtrack, both well-fitting within its space-traveling theme. So, it had to be a hit and earn a lot of money, right? Oh wait, we're in the Obscure Those Games video. What went wrong then? It's hard to tell, the gameplay was there, the idea was there, and the difficulty was at the right level too. Demanding, but not overly pushing, and Protostar looked rather good too. So maybe it's the length, as it was a fraction of the previous title? I feel that we may never know, but either way, it's definitely worth a look. Purple Saturn Day is a space-themed Olympic events game in the vein of titles like California Games or Decathlon, but sporting 4 unique and non-existent in real-world disciplines. First is a tronic slider test, where the goal is to the energy ball, shoot it with a laser and then collect pieces it leaves behind before your opponent will, and it's played for points. And there's the ring pursuit, which is a cross between a slalom race and a shooter where you speedrun around Saturn's rings. In time jump, you have to jump as far as possible and brace yourself here into the future. So you have to fuel the gravity catapult first and then propel yourself through time like some kind of a deranged time-faring human cannonball. And finally, Brain Bowler, which coincidentally was later on released as a standalone title under the name of Ecstasy and is the only puzzle game within the 4. I've also covered it in an earlier video. It's played against the computer opponent and you have to toggle switches in the board to charge up all your chips, in the same time disrupting the opponent who does the same. All of these are very unique and something one does not expect from an Olympic Games style title, but also not bad for a playthrough or two from time to time. Personally, I was not a fan, even if the graphics were not bad for the time, as I preferred those standard discipline sport titles more. That's me though, so if you feel like trying something else out in the genre, Purple Saturn Day may be down your alley. Keep in mind, however, that it's a rather difficult title, so it's not something you'll master in a singular playthrough. It doesn't happen very often, but sometimes we cover games that are, but really shouldn't be, for a variety of reasons. Putty Squad, a follow-up to Putty, is one of those games. It originally released on SNES in 1994 and 9 years later on the Amiga. Yes, you heard that right. It was released in 2013 on the Amiga, so a system that was virtually dead around 1994-1995. I mean, it still got games then, but Commodore went bankrupt and the hot potato of the IP that the Amiga was passed between a few major tech players of the time, most of them passing it by or bankrupting after trying to keep it running. Coincidence perhaps, but the fact remains. Still, Amiga's version was a full-fledged port of the game and the other of the two that actually released. DOS's version, however, is something entirely different. While it was being made and looked really decent, it was dropped mid-development for whatever the reason the devs might have. And the only copy that we currently have access to is the 4-level demo that was sent out to various gaming mags at the time. So, it's not a full release, but it's worth talking about nonetheless. Naturally, you play as the titular Putty, an amorphous blue blob that has to complete all the levels, collecting stars and seeking out exits. It can stretch left and right for attacks and upwards to propel itself up, helping with the jumps. Stars that you collect are used for unlocking of various extra skills and abilities for our hero. So for instance at 10 he gets a super punch, a better and stronger than the regular attack. All stages are naturally filled with different enemies in the form of pups. They throw grenades at you, shoot mortars, hit you and generally speaking do all kinds of shenanigans to make your life more difficult. Or faster fleeing, which is kinda odd as they were on your side in the first title. Anyway, why are you doing all that? Because yes, there is a story here, even if it's not a full game. Evil Wizard's henchmen invaded the Putty land and captured many of your brethren, which now you have to free traveling to the wizard city of Clad. Or you would, cause once again the game is not completed. Even though Putty Squad never officially released on PC, the demo's graphics are beautiful, clearly showing a promise of what could have been, and the gameplay is there too, and it's generally speaking worth a look and playthrough. Especially that it can be downloaded for free off the internet. When Quiver came out in 1997, it could run on the potatoest of 486 potatoes. Heck, it could probably run on a 386 too, though gaming on it would be at best questionable. Still, by 1997, 486 was an ancient architecture and most serious gamers had at least first generation Pentiums or their equivalents. So, Quiver, a sci-fi themed FPS, was a gift to those who didn't have time, money or capabilities to move to newer and faster platforms. While it was not comparable to Duke Nukem 3D or Quake, it could definitely stand next to Doom. Funny enough, it sported a similarly simple and straight-to-the-point story of aliens attacking Earth with their overwhelming forces, and you playing a role of a badass superhero savior who will save the planet one alien corpse at a time, gradually mowing them down. The game's engine, however, sees some basic improvements over the one of Doom's, as you can jump, I know, crazy, and it even features some areas over another, which was impossible to achieve in the classics engine without use of some kind of advanced Jedi mind-coding fuckery. Yeah, I'm coining the term for the benefit of all the devs out there. You're welcome. Quiver features some of the most unique weapons you've seen in the FPS to date too. So other than the standard blasters and the likes, you have fireball shooters, weapons that spawn rings of fire upon impact, alien hands of various kind, each offering a different firing capabilities like devastating bursts of shots or jets of flame, or even Medusa sphere that bounces off enemies' shots directly at them. And that's not even all of them. Point is, there's a lot of interesting pew-pewers in Quiver, and if you're a fan of the genre, you will appreciate it. Enemies too are the oddest bunch out there, from what I can only describe as singular eyes on hairy spider legs through demon bees, which they are clearly not, but they do look kinda like it. All the way to the flying spaghettis and miniaturized dune sandworms. Now, I know that neither of the two are what I said exactly, but they do remind me of them and I found it to be easiest way of describing them to you. Whatever, there are a few dozen of even weirder ones and they're all fun to look at and annihilate. Sometimes in the opposite order. Well, for your health's sake, most of the time. Gameplay-wise, 27 level strong campaign plays the exact same way early FPSs did. So you gotta collect something to complete the levels. In this particular case it's spheres of some sort, crushing any and all alien resistance on your way, and also finding keys for some obligatory environmental puzzling. You know, how you would in Doom. Two omissions however, which in my eyes are a bit of a letdown, are the lack of end level bosses and no multiplayer. But if you're in it for the thrill of the hunt of the invading scum, you've no doubt have a lot of fun in Quiver. Rama is a first-person perspective point-and-click adventure game that's a bit underappreciated, I think, and should have been much more popular. If not among the general's gamers populace, then at least within the point-and-clickers crowd. It plays for the most part kinda like Myst, but tells its own unique story based on Arthur C. Clarke's series of science fiction novels. The oh-so-exciting plot is as follows. 4 years earlier than when the game takes place, a gigantic cylindrical object appeared seemingly out of nowhere in our solar system and eventually in our skies, casting its menacing shadow on an unprepared Earth. Now, it's not something you know how to respond to, as no one expects that kind of a surprise given the currently known laws of physics and how fast, or more accurately slow, objects can travel in space. So, thankfully, for once we decided to respond peacefully and not by sending a bunch of nukes at it, at least initially. The International Space Agency named the object Rama, which I can only guess is an acronym for something, perhaps radically alien mysterious airship. Said agency assembled a team of explorers composed mainly of scientists and physicists too, dubbed it Newton Team and sent it off to study the object. Upon arrival, it is discovered that Rama is entirely hollow rotating cylinder that houses enormous alien cities populated by the alien species that the object itself somehow collected around the universe on its travels. So, it's a self-sustaining, self-operating zoo of sorts, if you will. And I could tell you here that you'll find myrmicats, avians, octospiders and biotes there, but by doing so, I'd tell you nothing, cause I suppose the names mean as much to you as they do to me. I should really read more, I think. Anyway, what I will tell you is that one of the members of the original team, Valery Borzov, died during mission in the mysterious circumstances, and you, playing as the nameless protagonist, are sent to replace him. When you get there, you'll need to investigate the mysterious death and also solve many different, often logic or math-based puzzles that are genuinely fun to work out. There will be quite a few twists and turns in your adventure as well, and the story will change its course dramatically more than once, keeping you on the edge of your seat all throughout its run. Well, play, really not run, but whatever. I said it already and I'm not retracting it. Rama's conclusion suggests a follow-up, but it was never released, and it was probably in part due to the rather poor sales of the game. I wasn't there though, I didn't witness it, so it's my best semi-educated guess and not a quote-unquote fact about it. If you like adventures, and especially Myst, Raven and the likes, Rama is something you'll appreciate. Average rabbit lives up to 12 years, and if you keep in mind that it's 7 times less than we do, you kinda began understanding why Quik the Thunder Rabbit is so, well, quick. But Sonic is so much faster and cooler and bluer, it has spiky hair and the attitude. Well, yes, my dear Watson, you're correct, but hedgehogs live 2-3 years tops on average, so he's gotta pack as much experiences in this short time as possible. Anyway, coming back to Quik, it's an always scrolling action platformer spanning 4 worlds, jam-packed with various enemies and offering different routes for exploration and progress. Now, while all the enemies are rather cute designed and friendly looking, don't be fooled. They're all jealous of Quik's speed and pace he goes through the levels at, so they will try to stop him by any means necessary. Our hero, however, is not your everyday rabbit, but Quik, the Thunder Rabbit. I sure hope I added some kind of a cool and loud lightning strike effect here in the post. If not, then just imagine that I did, for the sake of both of us. So, Quik disposes of the enemies spinning straight into them and then picks up whatever's left. You know, how robbers do. I mean rabbits, how rabbits do. And it can be either a power-up in the form of a red or green potion, allowing him to jump higher or run faster, one would say at thunder-like speeds, hearts that keep his energy up, or carrots and water, which, believe it or not, sustain him, as Quik the Thunder Rabbit is also one of the first ever survival roguelikes out there, and you have to eat and drink to survive. It's not a roguelike really, I got carried away, but the rest is spot on. You can bank on it. Each level has an objective, they are usually not very difficult, but the variety definitely makes them more interesting. Some may require you to get to the exit ASAP, while others have you seeking logs, to remind Quik of the passing time and how little of it he has left on this blue marble we call Earth. Jesus, that's triple D. Deep, dark and disturbing. One way or another, all levels end with a boss fight that first requires you to navigate a sort of labyrinth-like tunnel section to get to them. Bosses themselves are rather unique, like a guitar-rocking fox that keeps dropping sick riffs as his attacks and will require figuring out their attack patterns to beat. Overall, Quik the Thunder Rabbit, while not being the best platformer out there, it's definitely worth a playthrough as it's fun all throughout and fans of the genre will no doubt appreciate its unusual gameplay, even if Quik's jumps feel a bit floaty. Or is it just me and I shouldn't have mentioned it cause no one else finds them to be like it? I suppose it's one of those mysteries of the universe that we'll never learn the answer to. Decent selection today, don't you think? But the genre/gameplay spread was quite interesting and everyone should be able to find something at the very least to listen about, even if not play. But what do you think about today's games? Let me know in the comments below. If you liked the video, hit those like and subscribe buttons below. Smash them if you have to, it helps more than you could ever know. Also, I would like to thank you and all my amazing Patreon and YouTube members for helping this channel keep going. And last but definitely not least, I would like to thank all the wonderful folks who record and upload playthroughs, let's plays and other retro-centric videos here on YouTube, because they help to preserve the games that would have otherwise be long forgotten. So thank you.